If you're listening to our podcast, it might sound a little different today. And if you're viewing our podcast on YouTube, you can already see it looks different. It's just me, your host, AJ Nance, today. Zach has been caught up with work, but after a discussion with him, we decided we have to get out an episode about what happened this last week in sports, especially in the NHL. It's been an historic week in the MLB. Very sad here in St. Louis, but there's some things we have to discuss. In the NBA, it has been phenomenal. As you guys know, I'm a huge NBA fan, so it's been phenomenal regardless, but it's actually been amazing basketball on in both conferences. So we have to discuss that. And then we're going to probably leave the NFL off for the next episode with Zach. So we kind of recap the draft, talk about our winners and losers. But we have to get it started with the MLB. Like I said, here in St. Louis, it's been a miserable start to the year. The Cardinals are now 10-19 after being swept by the Dodgers this past weekend. We are back home, though, after a long road trip. We have the Los Angeles Angels in town, and then the Detroit Tigers. As you guys know, those are two very winnable matchups. We need to take care of our business this week. When you looked at the schedule coming into the season, for the Cardinals, we really felt confident that by the time we got to the Angels and Tigers, we'd be in a good spot. 10-19 is not a good spot. It has been a awful, dreadful start to the year from the pitching side, from the offense side. There's one name that we haven't discussed a whole lot in here. That's Nolan Arenado. He's batting under 240 now with 2 homers in the first month of the year. We're in May, and he has 2 homers to start the year. It's awful. It's awful. Paul Goldschmidt's still batting about 290, around the 300 range. He's getting on base. He's getting base hits. But the power, only 4 homers in the month of April. There's a lot of issues the Cardinals have right now, more than just the pitching. So it's a lot of stuff they need to fix quickly. Because as I'm going to talk about in a little bit here, the division isn't as weak as what we thought it would be. But as I said, with the Angels and Tigers in town this week, we need to take advantage. I will be present on Thursday afternoon at Busch Stadium. So we need a W. We have Mats versus Sandoval tonight on Tuesday night. And Otani versus Michaelis on Wednesday, and then I think it's Flaherty and Canning on Thursday. So, gotta win, guys. Gotta win. Gotta at least win 2 out of 3 here. And then it sounds crazy because we're 10-19, but we got to sweep the Tigers. There's no if and buts about it. We got to win 5 of 6 this week and get some good mojo going. I believe this team is capable of doing it. We're very talented, and we're very capable of doing this. So, got to turn it around quick. Other news in the MLB, though, there's 3 teams that I have to discuss today. And there are 3 teams that are, how do I say this? They're very famous for not being good teams in the past. They're notorious for being bad teams in the past. How about that? First, in the NL Central, the Pittsburgh Pirates have started the season 20-9. They are leading the NL Central. This is a young Pirates team that we had a lot of high hopes for 3 or 4 years now, and they finally put it together without O'Neal Cruz. He's been out with an injury, but this Pirates team is really rolling right now, and I think it's great for baseball. I think it's great for baseball. All 3 of these teams are good this year, but especially the Pirates, who have been a team that has young talent, young blossoming talent that are starting to fill those roles. Brian Reynolds has had a tremendous year. Brian Hayes, his average is still down. His power is still not great, but that man can absolutely pick it at third base. One of the best defensive third basemen in baseball. You can make a case he deserves a Gold Glove very soon here, if not already. The Pirates are 20-9, like I said, they're leading the NL Central. Next, the Baltimore Orioles. This is a team that finally blossomed a little bit last year. We could kind of see what they were capable of, and now they've really put it together through the first 28 games of the year. They are 19-9. They're second in the AL East, of course, because the Tampa Bay Rays are having an historic season. But the Baltimore Orioles are getting enough pitching. Adley Rutschman has been what we expected, possibly an MVP candidate. And they have so much young talent. One name that people aren't talking about enough is their shortstop, Jorge Mateo. He's batting .357, and he has over 10 stolen bases already. He has been absolutely phenomenal for them at the top of their order. And the Orioles are really rolling right now. Cedric Mullins, they got a bunch of dudes over there. So keep an eye on them. And then one last team is the Texas Rangers. Now, the Rangers are 17-11. They're leading the West over the Astros, over the Mariners, obviously the A's and the Angels. But 17-11 for a team that obviously spent a lot these last 2 years getting Corey Seager, getting Marcus Semien, getting Jacob deGrom, getting Gray, another pitcher. Um, Sadly, Jacob deGrom went down with a elbow injury earlier this week, and it didn't look good, guys. It looked like something that could be a Tommy John type of injury. I don't want to speculate too much, but it did not look great. His body language looked awful. That's not a good sign moving forward for the Texas Rangers. But they are 17-11 right now. Their offense has been great. Jonah Heim, their catcher, is number one in framing. So he's been a tremendous defensive catcher for them this year. Offensively, batting 278 with 4 homers as well. And obviously, I don't want to talk about it too much, but Adolis Garcia, a guy the Cardinals let go for nothing. Early this year, had 3 homers in a game and was 5 for 5 with 8 RBIs. And then overall, he's had a tremendous year. A little bit of all or nothing, but all around has 27 RBIs to start the year in the first month of the season, which is not too shabby. One team I left off was the Diamondbacks, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are 16-13. Corbin Carroll's been obviously the number one guy over there for them, and their pitching, man, with Zach Gallen as their ace, another guy the Cardinals let get away. We've talked about that on here before. The Diamondbacks are another team that has been notorious for being bad in the past that is finally putting it together. But out of those 3 teams, for our TikTok and Instagram users, I want you guys to let us know in the comments: Pirates, Orioles, Rangers. Are they all going to keep this success throughout the year? Or are they going to fall off? Or will none of them be this good by the end of the year? Will the Pirates win the NL Central? Will the Orioles be a playoff team again after their slight run several years ago? And will the Texas Rangers get back into the playoffs after 5 or 6 really awful years here? So let us know in the comments, of course. Let's move on to the NHL, though, where, as I mentioned at the beginning, it has been an historic week in the National Hockey League. I don't even know where to start. I guess we have to start up there in Toronto. They finally broke the curse, a 19-year drought of not making it past the first round for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they broke the curse, winning in Game 6 against the, of course, team that is so impossible to beat, it feels like, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They would just not go away, even in this series. I feel like a lot of Toronto fans had doubt, but the Maple Leafs got it done in Game 6. A John Tavares goal made it 2-1, and they won all 3 games in Tampa Bay in overtime, which is really remarkable. They won Game 3, Game 4, and Game 6, all in Tampa Bay, and as I said, all in overtime, which is remarkable persistence from the Maple Leafs, and they finally got it done. I know that city of Toronto is going absolutely crazy right now. It is great that they made it past the first round, and their matchup looks very likely for them. All year long, we had talked about this Boston Bruins team. They had the best regular season record in NHL history. People were saying they were the best team ever. I mean, obviously, record-wise, they were. They lose in the first round to the Florida Panthers, the 6th President Trophy winning team in NHL history, to lose in the first round. They lose Game 7 in Boston to the Florida Panthers. Connor Verhaeghe with a goal to end it in overtime. Boston had a lead 3-2 late in that game, coughed it up 3-3, and then they lose it in overtime. And Sergei Bobrovsky is the second goalie, or it's his second time, I should say, beating the President Trophy winning team in the first round. So he's kind of got that clutch gene to him, or maybe he's just right place, right time with the right team. But an historic choke. I don't like using that word, but it is an historic choke by the Boston Bruins. And I'm still in shock that it happened. I thought the Maple Leafs news was going to be the highlight of the week, of like the breaking news, but the Boston Bruins choking that game, choking that series, choking their season to the Florida Panthers, who kind of just snuck in and we kind of all wrote off, is remarkable, to say the least. It's not only probably the biggest upset or choke in NHL history, you can make a case in sports ever. I mean, if we look back at history, I haven't looked back at it myself yet, but we have to discuss that at some point in time when we look at the history of sports and choke jobs that have happened. The Boston Bruins 2023 season has to be up there. And that's not it. We have even bigger news. I guess not bigger. It's up there, though. The Seattle Kraken, in their second year of existence, have defeated the reigning champs, the Colorado Avalanche, in 7 games. They win game 7 in Colorado. They were down 3-2 in the series. They won game 6 at home, and they won game 7 in Colorado. And I'm still in shock about that. That's 3 series. I picked Toronto Maple Leafs to win, and I thought the Kraken could push the Avalanche. The Avalanche was without their captain, Landeskog, and I had just had a feeling, goaltender wise, I wasn't very confident with Colorado. I thought they would push them maybe 6 or 7. I didn't think they would win. Toronto Maple Leafs, man, I thought they would win that series, but I knew it was going to go 6 or 7. Obviously, the curse was the big storyline there. And then the Bruins series, 3 people on planet Earth probably picked that one. They were all Panthers fans. So it's been an historic week in the NHL. All 3 of those series must watch. Every year the NHL playoffs is must watch. And there's one other series, I guess 2 other series that were pretty phenomenal too, but they don't match up to these top 3. The Devils eliminate the Rangers. Talk about another choke. The Rangers went all out to get Patrick Kane, to get Vladdy Tarasenko, to get Mikkola. They went all out for this year, and they choke it. They go 2 up. They go up 2-0 in the series, winning both in New Jersey. They come back home feeling nice and pretty, I guess. They lose both games. They win game 6 in New York. They come back for game 7 in New Jersey, and they lose. They lose game 7 4-0. The big storyline for the Devils, Timo Meier, one of their superstars, they got in a trade with the Sharks earlier this year, goes down with a nasty injury, a big Jacob Trouba hit near the blue line. Just came out of nowhere and just drilled him. If you guys want to see it, look it up. Jacob Trouba hit on Timo Meier. It's pretty scary. And then the other series, the Oilers, who Zach and I both had winning the Stanley Cup this year with the best player on earth, Connor McDavid. They win game 6 versus the Los Angeles Kings and win the series. They won that game 5-4 on a late Yamamoto goal in the last 5 minutes of that game, and the Oilers move on. So looking forward to round 2, which actually begins tonight with the Maple Leafs and Panthers in Toronto. That's the first series in the East. The other series in the East, the New Jersey Devils, Carolina Hurricane. In the West, we have the Kraken versus the Stars, and then we have the Oilers versus the Knights. I did pick Winnipeg to beat the Knights. That was not a good call on my part. But looking at these matchups, I am going to pick the Leafs over the Panthers. I think the Panthers going 7 games, laying it all out on the line versus that powerful Bruins team. It's a tremendous storyline for the Florida Panthers. I don't think they beat the Leafs, though. I think the Leafs move on. Kraken Stars, I want to pick the Kraken. I really do. I'm going to pick the Stars. I think Jake Ottinger is the difference maker there in goal for the Stars. So I think the Stars move on. Devils, Hurricanes. I'm going to go Hurricanes. Again, 7 games is draining. The Islanders pushed the Hurricanes to 6, but the Devils playing all 7, coming back from down 2-0. They laid a lot out on the line, kind of like the Panthers did, being down 3-1, which is, I still can't believe that. It blows my mind. But I do have the Hurricanes winning that. They were my pick to win the Stanley Cup at the beginning of the year. And then the Oilers versus the Golden Knights. It's a matchup that comes down to pace, I think. I think the Golden Knights have a better defense. I think they have better goalie play than the Oilers. The Oilers have that superpower. And we have a matchup of number 1 overall pick, Connor McDavid, and number 2 overall pick, Jack Eichel, in that draft. So I'm rolling with the Oilers in this one. I think the Oilers, maybe I'm just biased to my pick of winning it all, but I do think the Oilers have enough to win it all this year. I really do. We might have an all-Canada matchup with the Oilers and the Leafs, but I have the Oilers moving on. And like I said, round 2 begins tonight with the Leafs and Panthers and Kraken Stars, game 1 on Tuesday night tonight. And then on Wednesday, by the time this episode will come out, the Devils, Hurricanes, Oilers, Knights will be beginning. Moving on to the NBA, which I have kept up with the hardest as a diehard NBA fan. We have to probably start with how the last round ended, and that is Game 7, Golden State Warriors, Sacramento Kings. Steph Curry, who's been known not to show up great in Game 7s, was phenomenal with a 50-point game. He was just chucking that thing up there, over 35 field goal attempts. But he did have 50 in game 7, and the Warriors move on to face the Los Angeles Lakers. In round 2, because it's already begun, the Miami Heat and New York Knicks, the Heat are up 1-0 in that series. And the really big storyline I've seen already in this series is whoever's winning the series is who can stay healthy. Obviously, Tyler Hero is out with a broken hand that happened during the Bucks series, and Jimmy Butler went down late with a scary fall in that Heat Knicks game in game 1. On the Knicks side, Julius Randle was out for game 1, which obviously helped Miami, and Jalen Brunson's been dealing with some nagging injuries. They're both that game 2 is tonight. Randle and Brunson are both game time decisions. Butler should be a go. The Knicks need this one. They really do. They can't go up. They can't go down 2-0 to Miami and then go to Miami. My goodness, I can't speak. Go to Miami expecting to come back in that series. I know Randall's a big piece that they need. They need Brunson to play better than what he did in game 1. Miami's looking good right now, though. They have the confidence. They knocked off Milwaukee. At that point, you can beat anybody in the NBA. If you can knock off Giannis, even in 2.5 quarter games that Giannis played, Miami is rolling right now. They have confidence, and they're scary. I think they're the best coached team left in the playoffs. You can make a case they're the best coached team in all of the league throughout the regular season and postseason with Coach Spo there in Miami. So I like Miami to win that series. I think New York wins game 2 tonight in New York. I have a hard time seeing them lose both in New York. So I do have them tying up the series. If they don't, though, like I said, they're in trouble, very much trouble. The other series in the East here began the 76ers versus Celtics. Game 1 was last night. The big storyline, Joel Embiid was missing. He was not able to play with an injury that he has right now. And the Sixers somehow pulled it off. Jason Tatum had a phenomenal game with 39 points, but the Sixers won. Harden, going back to James Harden of the Houston days, with 45 points. An amazing game from James Harden. A step back late in that game in the final 20 seconds to put him up. The Celtics had a chance to come down and win it, and they didn't even get a shot off. The ball got loose. They scrambled around. They threw it off Tatum. They had to foul, and the Celtics lose. The play before Harden hit that jumper, Malcolm Brogdon late in the shot clock drove right, threw it back thinking somebody was there, and he threw it right to Tyrese Maxey while they were up by 1. They were about to put the dagger, and he turns it over, which is unlike Malcolm Brogdon. He's a very smart, very savvy player. He throws it to Tyrese Maxey, breakaway layup to give the Sixers the lead, and then obviously Harden hit that jump shot during the whole sequence as well. The biggest storyline, I took 2 big storylines. If you're the Sixers, you have to be very happy with how you performed. You have to be happy with a win without Joel Embiid. He should be good for game 2 or game 3 in this series, at least game 3, I would think, going back to Philly. But if you're the away team, you guys know you go into a home environment where it's very hostile. Your mindset is at least get one game, and they did that already. They're sitting very nice right now. But the big 2 storylines I have both come from the Celtics side. If you look at turnovers in this game, the Celtics had 16 turnovers. The 76ers had 6. They won the turnover margin by 10, a difference of 10. If you're going to be the Celtics, man, if you're a Celtics fan, I should say, you have to be disappointed in this game 1. If you're the Celtics team, you have to limit the turnovers. You have to. You have honestly no excuse for losing game 1. James Harden was great, but you have no excuse for not winning game 1 without 35 points a game of Joel Embiid, probably the MVP of this year. It's not a good time for a Celtics fan. I'm telling you. I know it's one game. It's easy to overreact, but that's not good at all. And then the other storyline for the Celtics is Jaylen Brown, very efficient, 8 of 10, but in 42 minutes played, he had 1 foul. He wasn't in foul trouble. He was 8 for 10. And this is your second, honestly, superstar. We could put him in that range. It's not good. It's not good at all. You have to get him more involved if you're Boston. 8 for 10. 8 for 10? You're that efficient, and you shoot 8 for 10. Got to get him more involved. Got to get him more involved. But biggest thing for me is turnover. 16-6. Great job for the Sixers. 6 turnovers. That's great. Absolutely phenomenal. And as I said a couple times here, Harden with 45. So the Sixers go up 1-0. And those are the two series in the East. Moving on to the West. It's kind of wrap up the episode here. Oh man, the Lakers Warriors begin tonight. Okay. But the series that has already had 2 games happen is the Nuggets versus Suns, which was kind of must watch. A lot of storylines in this series. Chris Paul looking for that first ring of his career, and a great career for Chris Paul. Kevin Durant, obviously the big trade in the middle of the season. They obviously have Devin Booker. They're very top heavy. On the other side, the Denver Nuggets, known for their depth, known for a 2-time MVP, possibly a 3-time. I said my pick already. I think it's Embiid, but he's going to get votes. Jokic will get votes. But Jokic, bunch of pressure on him, I feel like, this postseason. Jamal Murray coming back from an injury. Can he be that number 2 star on a championship team? They really showed a lot in that bubble season when they lost to the Lakers in the conference final. Jamal Murray obviously had a tremendous bubble. He had a tremendous game 1 as well. Clutch shots. They blew out the Suns in game 1. Game 2, not so good for Jamal Murray, but the Nuggets found a way to win. The Nuggets are up 2-0 in the series going to Phoenix. If you're a Denver fan, you're sitting nice and pretty right now. You're loving this. Going up 2-0 on the Suns. If you're the Suns, you got some things to look at. Devin Booker, 2 really good games. Very efficient. Kevin Durant in game 2, 10 for 27. I think he was 2 for 12 from 3, if I remember correctly. I don't have it pulled up with me right now or written down. But Kevin Durant, 10 for 27. I don't see anybody talking about that. This is your superstar. This is your number 1 guy. That can't happen. That can't happen. Jamal Murray on the Nuggets side, 3 for 15. 0 for 9 from 3. I have a worry for the Nuggets. I know you won this game. It is because of your depth. It is because Nikola Jokic had 39 and 16. He was phenomenal. And another thing with the Nuggets, they get issues when there's opposing bigs that cause problems. And in the West, you don't have a lot of that besides the Lakers. Anthony Davis could cause problems with Jokic. Or if you create switches with Jokic defensively and put him on an island, which they have not done enough with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. They need to do that more and just abuse Jokic defensively. He's not a good defender. I have not seen them do that enough. CP3 is an issue for me in this series. I think he's an extreme mismatch. I think Jamal Murray, I know Jamal Murray is abusing him defensively. Jamal Murray is embarrassing CP3. CP3 in game 2 goes down with an injury. He had 8 points in just over 20 minutes played, I believe. I think he went down to the 3rd quarter and didn't come back. So that's a storyline to keep an eye on. I think they're best if he's off the bench. And that might be a bold take. I think he's best off the bench. If you start Torrey Craig and Josh Okogie for the defensive factor, keep Cameron Payne off the bench, and then you start Ayton, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. But I don't think the Suns are by any means out of this series. They have the superpower, they have the firepower to come back in the series and win this series, but they have to win both in Phoenix. Obviously, if they lose both in Phoenix, the series is over, which I don't think that's happening. I would be shocked if that happened. And along with that, if they win one of the 2 in Phoenix, they're down 3-1. 3-1 is very, very tough. Not impossible. Very tough, though. And I think it's a must-win game 3 and must-win game 4 for the Phoenix Suns. But like I said many times, and I've said it many times throughout the year, the NBA has been phenomenal this year. The playoffs have been electric this year. Moving on to the last series, and my favorite series that I probably couldn't talk about a whole lot with my co-host Zach here, the Lakers versus the Warriors. That begins tonight, 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. Oh, man, this is must watch. It is 2 legends going at it. Steph Curry, LeBron James, possibly the last time we see these 2 go at it. Part 5 of them facing each other. One big storyline in this series. The Lakers won game 6 to finish the series versus the Grizzlies. We have not really covered that a whole lot. We covered it on our story. You guys have not followed us on TikTok and Instagram. We cover everything over there, so make sure to go follow us over there. But Anthony Davis defensively in that game 6 was absolutely phenomenal. A beast, a monster, a defensive player of the year. He was making everybody look silly coming into the paint. He was a difference maker. He only had 16 points in game 6. As we mentioned before, he was kind of fluctuating between games. He would have a 31 and 19 game. Then he would have a 12-point game. You just never know what Anthony Davis you're going to get on a night-to-night basis. But game 6 is what I expect from him. As a LeBron fan, as a Laker fan, as LeBron's there, I'm a Lakers fan. I'm going to call it that. He is a guy that they need to be. I don't even think he needs to be the number one guy, but he needs to be that difference maker defensively. And he was that, as I said, in game 6. Offensively in this series, I need more than 16 points, more than 12 points. I need more of that 25 to 30 range against Kevon Looney. No hate to Looney. Looney had a tremendous game 7, over 20 rebounds. Great defense versus a bonus in game 7 of that series. But come on. It's Kevon Looney. It's all worldly talent Anthony Davis. If he's truly a top 7, top 10 player in basketball, he needs to show out in this series. The Lakers have a mismatch with LeBron James, I have a feeling. LeBron James versus Andrew Wiggins, maybe Kuminga if he gets some minutes, Draymond Green. I like LeBron in that matchup. I think they're very well rested. Winning in game 6 and having the Warriors play all 7 games versus the Kings, I think the Warriors are very, very tired. You wouldn't see it from Steph Curry in game 7 with his 50-point game, but I really think it's going to show as this series moves on, especially on the road. We have talked about before about how the Warriors really struggle on the road. I think it's going to be a continued struggle. I think the Lakers win game 1, Warriors win game 2, Lakers win both at home, lose game 5 on the road, and then win game 6 back at home. I think it plays out exactly like the Grizzlies series played out. If you're the Warriors, for the Warriors fans out there, you have to be obviously confident in your squad. You have Steph Curry, who's on a tear right now. You obviously have the championship pedigree. You're the reigning champs. You've won 4 in the Steph Curry, Draymond, and Clay era. And you have young talent Jordan Poole, which I've made my thoughts and opinions on Jordan Poole pretty known, pretty public. I'm not a huge Jordan Poole fan, not a huge Jordan Poole believer. I think he's not a winning player. He's a bucket getter with some of the best of them, but I don't think he's a championship player. He doesn't do enough for me engaging defensively to really impress me in that way. So if you're the Warriors, though, looking at the Warriors, looking at the Lakers side too with this topic here, can the Lakers guards keep up with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? And I'm not too worried about Klay Thompson. I might be eating my words by the end of this series. But with Steph Curry, can Vanderbilt, can Dennis Schroeder, can Austin Reeves? Who knows if Malik Beasley? I don't think he would be put on that matchup. They can get a switch with him though, or Lonnie Walker if Lonnie gets any minutes, which I think he should. Can they match up? D'Angelo Russell, can he keep his own? Just hold your own a little bit. Speaking of D'Lo, I don't expect 31 like he did in game 7 or game 6 of that Grizzlies series. But we're going to need a consistent D'Lo now. We're going to need a 16 or 17 a game. We're going to need Anthony Davis to be consistent, not fluctuating. There's 2 guys that have been super consistent this year. That's LeBron James, who I didn't think had a great series versus the Grizzlies, but overall it's LeBron James. Come on. But with Austin Reeves, he's been so consistent. I trust him so much in this series. I trust him so much overall, handling the ball. But consistency. Can Dennis Schroeder be consistent? Can Malik Beasley be consistent with shooting the ball? Can Troy Brown give some good minutes? Can Darvin Ham be consistent with his rotations? There's a lot of storylines in this Lakers-Warriors series. I think it's going to be legendary. I think if the Warriors win, it goes 6 or 7. I think if the Lakers win, it goes 6 or 7. But I do have the Lakers in 6. I think they're well rested. I think LeBron did a great job in a couple games putting his foot on the gas versus the Grizzlies, but also letting his foot off a little bit. He knows it's still Even though it's the playoffs, it's a marathon still. It's not a sprint. Let other guys, if they're going, let them cook. Austin Reeves, save your energy. You're a 38-year-old man. Let Austin Reeves cook. Let Anthony Davis get his. But when the time comes, LeBron James will show up. And he's a major storyline in this series because his three ball has not been falling. He's been great defensively. And he's been obviously great on the glass, getting 20 rebounds in the one game, and he had 13 average for the series versus the Grizzlies in those 6 games. They're going to need him to create more offensively, and he's been very efficient at the rim, shooting about 67%. But it's about the three ball for LeBron James because they're going to pack the paint and force him to shoot. And as we know, LeBron can get hot. So can he get hot? And if he does, and I'm betting on it that he does, he knows the Warriors. Obviously, Steph and the Warriors know him. It's must watch TV, guys. It is. NBA haters out there, it's must watch TV. But that is all I have for this episode. Like I said, we are going to be covering NFL on our Friday episode or Saturday episode whenever we find time later this week. We will post about it. We'll get it out for you guys, covering everything still in the MLB, NHL, and NBA, but covering a little bit more in the NFL. Obviously, the draft just happened. Our winners, our losers. Look at 2023 as a whole. As I mentioned at the beginning and a little bit in the middle, if you guys have not followed us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. We're posting stuff daily on our story. We're going to post stuff on Instagram. We've been posting stuff, obviously, on TikTok daily, YouTube Shorts, along with these YouTube videos on Spotify. Make sure to go give us a follow over there. Spotify has been popping off lately, and we thank you guys so much for listening. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you guys this weekend. Much love, everybody.